Hello and welcome to this video B3 in this series about autodidactic learning objects. The B series focuses on the templates themselves that you use to create learning objects. This video, B3, will discuss the hierarchical comments template, where you can add comments in a structure. My name is Jonas Hall. I'm also known as the Mad Mathematician. So this is what you'll see when you open this template. The text here is in Swedish. It just says click on activity 1, that's this button, then on 1.1. Well, there's no such thing as 1.1 now, but if you click activity 1, the other activity buttons disappear and some new ones appear. So for activity 1 there may be a number of tasks. Click number 1 and you'll see the specific instructions for that one. Click number 2, you'll see the specific instructions for that one, etc. Click activity 1 again to gain access to the others. Activity 2, 2.5, activity 3, 3.2, etc. So that's what it looks like. Now this can be used when you want the student to actually do stuff on its own. So for instance, you want the student to create something, investigate something. Then you can have different activities with different tasks. This particular text is not all that instructive. It just tells you that click the first button to see what's going on. So you can just right click and delete that text when you don't need it anymore. If we, there are some instructions hidden in this, in these buttons. So if we click 1.1 here, it says, how do you change the texts? Well, you have to show auxiliary objects in the algebra window. To do that, you click this button. If you can't see that button, it's because the style bar is off. You activate it by clicking the little triangle. So auxiliary objects, and suddenly you see lots of stuff. There are a massive number of Boolean variables, which we can hide for now, and a fair number of texts. So if you want to change the text, you are probably going to need to show these. Please notice that the visibility is controlled by Boolean variables and scripts, so don't mess that thing up. However, the texts themselves can be edited. So the simplest thing to do is find this text, and this particular text you might as well have right-clicked on it, text itself. You don't really need to show it here, but you can do if you want to. And the first thing you'll need to do is to unlock the object, because it's locked so that it can't be changed as standard. So unlock it, and then go in to the properties of the text. Here we are. On the text tab you can see the text. If you hadn't unlocked it, you couldn't see the text here. So you have to unlock it first. And then you change the text in the top window. You may want to click Ctrl A to select everything and delete that, and then perhaps type something like create a linear function or something like that. You click OK and hide the properties window, and this is what it looks like. So whenever we click 1.1 now, it says create a linear function. Right, so that's how you change texts. After you've done that, you'll need to lock it again. And if you want to change all the texts, then a good thing could be to actually select all the texts, right click on them and unlock them all at once. You could do that if you want to. Right, I'm going to hide those again. So what's next? Hide extra buttons. Maybe you don't actually want to have 5 tasks. Maybe you only want to have 4 tasks or 3 tasks. Well, the easiest way to do this is probably to simply delete the button. So we right click and we go into properties, and you have to unlock it first. And once you've unlocked it, you can erase it by right clicking on it. Now it's not there anymore. You can click the other buttons and they work just the same, but button number 4 doesn't exist. So let's do that with number 5 as well. Unlock and then erase. And that's all there is. Same thing goes with the big buttons up here. If you erase activity 3, for instance, you're not going to see, you're not going to be able to click it, and therefore you won't be able to see activity 3 task buttons. So you only need to erase button activity 3. Properties, unlock, delete. So we now have one activity with 3 tasks and one activity with 5 tasks. How to change the size of the text? Well, right click and go into properties, text, and you can actually, without unlocking it, change the size of it. It looks as if you can, because it actually says redefinition failed, fixed object can't change. It actually does that. So it works, but you get a couple of error messages because you didn't unlock it first. You can of course change the color and size on both texts and buttons, and I'm sure you'll know how to do that by now. You unlock the object and you go in and change the properties, and then you lock the object again. Congratulations, you're now an expert on using this template. There is actually one more thing. You can add stuff here that is shown only when you click activity 1 and not when it's shown by clicking activity 2, or only when task 2.2 is active. How do you do that? Well, by showing the auxiliary object again, we remember that there were massive amounts of logical Boolean values, right? Some of these are labeled on, which basically says if this option is active or not. The second one is called vis, for visibility, whether or not it's visible. So you can use the on Boolean values as a condition to show certain objects. As an example, let's create a circle, and let's create 2 points. You want the circle to be shown when activity 1 is active. So you right click the circle, and you probably need to remember that it's using points A and B as well. Select properties and go into the circle C on the advanced tab and say I only want this to be visible when activity 1 is active. So you type A1 on, just like that, just like the name of the logical variable. And you press tab or click somewhere else to make it catch. You probably want the points A and B to behave in the same way, so let's select that. You can use Control and select several at once and use A1 on. Let's see the result of that. It's gone. And that's because activity 1 was not active, but when it is, it shows. I managed to create a point there by mistake, since that tool was still active, so I may want to erase that. These points, let's select those, go into their properties and say I want these to be active when activity 2 is on. So activity 1 we get the circle, activity 2 we get the dots, and again I managed to do that. Obviously you can just as well use the Boolean variables that control which task is active rather than the activities. In order to do that, you use not the A1, A2 and A3 Boolean variables, but the B, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 5, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, etc. In the same way. Down here we suddenly have a text, create a linear function. That should be that one. However, when we changed it, it also makes the sort of original text visible. This one is actually a list of texts that is shown one at a time. This one can be hidden, so just don't show that. And we're reasonably ready now. We have 2 activities that show different objects and different instructions. Thank you for listening.